Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. Ahsoka is getting started, and a lot of you have been asking questions about Hayden Christensen coming back, Anakin Skywalker, other Jedi characters after the trailer was released. Hayden Christensen has appeared online in cast lists for the show, so I'll explain what's going on with him during the events of the Ahsoka series. If you're brand new to the channel, I'll be doing weekly episode videos for Ahsoka, just like The Mandalorian, the other Star Wars series. Be sure to subscribe to get them. I will do a special Ahsoka giveaway during those when they start releasing the episodes. Careful for spoilers for everything on The Mandalorian so far if you haven't caught up with the episodes. But one of the cool things about the Ahsoka series that's been missing from The Mandalorian is a lot of Jedi characters. Like, there have been flashbacks to some of what's happening during Order 66, the Jedi Temple. There's been some Jedi stuff happening related to Grogu's storyline, like some Luke Skywalker cameos, which is obviously a very big deal. Some Ahsoka cameos.
I've only known one other being like this. A wise Jedi master named Yoda.
It belonged to my teacher, Master Yoda.
But one of the reasons why you haven't seen a ton of Jedi stuff happening on The Mandalorian is because there aren't that many Force users active in the galaxy during that part of the timeline. So when Dave Filoni, Jon Favreau plotted out the way the Mandoverse works with all the different spin-off shows, they knew they'd be doing an Ahsoka series, and she's probably the biggest Force user around right now next to Luke Skywalker, so it just made sense for them to do a lot of their Jedi-related stuff during the Ahsoka series and only doing a little bit during The Mandalorian for Grogu's storyline. So like all the classic Jedi stuff you'd expect when you hear they're going to be Jedi characters showing up, like deep Force lore, that's going to the Ahsoka series. Typically, when you hear Jedi characters are going to appear during a series, or even Dark Force users, any kind of Force users, you're thinking of big lightsaber fights, you're thinking about cool new Force lore from the books or from the expanded universe that Dave Filoni's bringing back. Most of that is coming through the Ahsoka series. That's why during the Ahsoka trailer, we're seeing so much more Jedi Dark Force user stuff, like 1,000% more than we saw in The Mandalorian so far.
This is a new beginning. For some, war. For others, power.
It's going to be at least another 20 to 30 years minimum before Grogu is about the same size as Yoda, like fully matured, walking around and talking, the Giga Chad version of Yoda. And that'd be way past the Mandalorian season finale. Like, even if it goes for 7 to 10 seasons, it would be well past that. He'll have long since gone to some other TV series or movie by then. Like, don't worry, there will be plenty of Grogu for the rest of your natural-born life. But you can see how the shows have been bringing Hayden Christensen back more and more. Obi-Wan Kenobi is just the most recent biggest play so far, coming back as both Anakin Skywalker in flashbacks and Darth Vader in the present day of that series.
Your pain has just begun.
That was meant to be taking place about 10 years after Revenge of the Sith. The report at the time when we learned he was first coming back for that was that he had signed a deal that was much larger, like a deal with the option open to come back in the Ahsoka series and do other things in different parts of the timeline. The twist with the Ahsoka series, though, is that the present day of the series is set during the same time period as The Mandalorian after Return of the Jedi. During the events of Season 3, we're about 9 years after Return of the Jedi, so a little bit of time has gone by since the events of Season 1. That was meant to be about 5 years after Return of the Jedi. There are a couple scenes during the Ahsoka trailer that make it seem like we'll see a few smaller time jumps during that, like the scene right here is meant to be the exact same scene from the Star Wars Rebels ending, just in live action. And it's Ahsoka coming in her ship after the second Death Star was destroyed at the end of Return of the Jedi to pick up Sabine Wren, who had been fighting in the rebellion during the original trilogy. That's a bit of a retcon because obviously she debuted during Star Wars Rebels, but Dave Filoni said that she was part of the rebellion during the events of the original trilogy. And after Return of the Jedi, she came back to Lothal, and she's just been chilling out here, stewing, thinking about Ezra Bridger. That's why her hair has grown longer, but it's shorter during other parts of the trailer, because when Ahsoka comes to get her, she cuts her hair again. And that's after Ahsoka has learned that Grand Admiral Thrawn has returned, and even though they don't know where Ezra Bridger is, they assume that that means that he's come back too. So they're also looking for him, but they're also trying to stop Grand Admiral Thrawn. And I think that scene is meant to be happening around the time that Season 1 of The Mandalorian is happening, like a couple years after, at least 4 or 5 years after Return of the Jedi. So a little bit of time has gone by. Then I think at some point the main part of the Ahsoka series will take place closer to present day, like it'll catch up with the events of The Mandalorian, which is closer to 9 years later, like another 4 years after this moment here where Ahsoka comes back to get her. So not massive time jumps, but a little bit of time jumping. And since we just saw the Obi-Wan Kenobi episodes and during The Mandalorian, we've seen a bunch of time jumps, like we saw a bunch of Grogu flashbacks to Order 66 to learn about who saved him, Kelleran Beck, Ahmed Best coming back. And we saw the Obi-Wan Kenobi flashbacks with Anakin Skywalker much further earlier in the timeline when he was still whole, before Order 66. Naturally, it makes sense that Ahsoka would also have some kind of flashbacks to address her history and the major moments of her life. For example, Ahsoka left the Jedi Order a few years before Order 66, probably one of the most defining moments of her life. It was like Grogu choosing to leave Luke Skywalker's Jedi Academy if he'd been at Luke Skywalker's Jedi Academy for much, much longer. The Obi-Wan Kenobi Anakin Skywalker flashback wasn't necessarily to a defining moment, it was just one of their many lightsaber training sessions, like a lesson that Obi-Wan Kenobi gave to him during their time together. But because his hair is so short, that's just meant to tell you that it's during the events of Attack of the Clones or around that period, just because he still has the Padawan haircut. Ahsoka didn't actually become Anakin Skywalker's Padawan until after he became a full Jedi Knight and started wearing his hair longer. So any Ahsoka Anakin flashbacks for snips and Sky Guy moments, like you see Rosario Dawson posting pictures here at the recent Star Wars Celebration convention, like, hey Sky Guy, how's it going, Snips? Any flashbacks for stuff like that would have to be between the Clone Wars and before the second half of Revenge of the Sith. The scene at the end of the Clone Wars where Anakin gives her twin lightsabers back that she had left with the Jedi Order when she left happened around the middle of Revenge of the Sith. Like Ahsoka was on her way back to Coruscant after retaking the Mandalore planet, helping Bo-Katan like we just saw them retake Mandalore. That scene was happening right as the Emperor was executing Order 66. Like they were in hyperspace on their way back to Coruscant when that went down. So there's a little bit of overlap between those last couple of episodes of the Clone Wars Season 7 and Revenge of the Sith. The other major flashback scene that they can do, probably one of the best scenes in all of Star Wars, even live action, is their reunion after he had become Darth Vader during Star Wars Rebels, during Twilight of the Apprentice. The events of Rebels was when she finally learned that Anakin Skywalker had become Darth Vader. She'd been hiding out in the Outer Rim after Order 66 went down, and eventually started working for Bail Organa in the Rebellion as Fulcrum, sort of like a point of communications between rebel cells, through the events of Star Wars Andor. So when the events of Andor are taking place, and you see the Rebellion start to come together, Ahsoka is actually helping them in the background.
Fulcrum. Ahsoka. My name is Ahsoka Tano.
Then the events of Star Wars Rebels picks up towards the end of Andor, and that's when she started becoming more active, more public again, and working with the crew of the Ghost, which we're all going to see in live action, like we just saw Zeb on The Mandalorian, and we see all the other characters come back during the Ahsoka trailer. So that whole period between Revenge of the Sith and Rebels, she thought that Anakin Skywalker had been dead. She never spoke to Obi-Wan Kenobi. He never had the chance to tell her because they were trying to stay hidden. Like that's why they didn't spend all that time talking to each other. Early on in Rebels, she started to have visions of Anakin Skywalker as Darth Vader, so she started to figure things out, but it wasn't until Twilight of the Apprentice when they have their face-to-face reunion and she gets the confirmation, like she sees it with her own eyes. Oh my god, what's happened to you, Anakin?
Anakin, I won't leave you. Not this time.
Then you will die.
The actual title of that episode, Twilight of the Apprentice, was also a reference to her being Anakin Skywalker's apprentice. Ezra Bridger wound up using the World Between Worlds to pull Ahsoka out of that part of the timeline into his present day, so she did wind up skipping a good chunk of time there, but Ahsoka could also have a flashback to her reunion with Darth Vader. Also during the Ahsoka trailer, this place also kind of seems similar to the World Between Worlds. And what I'm really hoping for, fingers crossed, is that during present day, we'll see Hayden Christensen come back as Force Ghost Anakin Skywalker to speak with Ahsoka. We've actually seen Force Ghost Anakin Skywalker a couple times in canon. At the end of Return of the Jedi, then during The Rise of Skywalker, when they're killing the Emperor, you hear Force Ghost voices from a ton of Jedi characters, including Kanan Jarrus. They included pretty much every single big Jedi character you could think of from the canon, so Hayden Christensen recorded new voiceover dialogue as Anakin Skywalker's Force Ghost for this. The Star Wars people also revealed that there was talk of Anakin Skywalker's Force Ghost being the one to appear to older Luke Skywalker during Return of the Jedi instead of Yoda. The reason they said they went with Yoda instead of Anakin is just because he was more important for the context of this scene, because Yoda had been Luke's Jedi Master. So they had actually been trying to bring back Force Ghost Anakin Skywalker for many years now. The Ahsoka series would be the perfect place for that to happen. We might even get some more Force Ghost Kanan Jarrus scenes talking to Ezra Bridger as the Force Wolf Doom, There's a picture of a Loth wolf behind Sabine here that she drew that could be a clue that we'll see the Loth wolves during the series. It also seems like Kanan's son with Hera, Jason, will be part of the series, so there's just a lot of reasons to include cameos from him as well. It's just that he'd have to be a Force ghost. Let me know in the comments, though, if they only have 8 episodes and they're about the same length as The Mandalorian, they'll probably do about as many flashbacks as The Mandalorian the Obi-Wan Kenobi series did. What kind of scenes do you want to see with Hayden Christensen? Ewan McGregor was also talking about Obi-Wan Kenobi Season 2 at Star Wars Celebration, but Lucasfilm claims that they're not actively working on it, but they might wind up doing it in the future. Hayden Christensen will also come back as Darth Vader and Anakin Skywalker flashbacks for that too. Darth Vader would only be in his late 30s during that period, so he'd still be very, very active. We'll get another Ahsoka trailer soon that'll give us more of the actual story. The first trailers are mostly just meant to be teasers that show you some of the characters, some of the locations, like teasing the return of Grand Admiral Thrawn and his new mystery fleet of capital ships. We might see a cameo from Grogu and the Mandalorian during Ahsoka. I think part of the reason for the armor sending him away to do Grogu's journeys and becoming a bounty hunter for the New Republic in the Outer Rim was to make it easier to explain how they could run into the Ahsoka characters. If you have any other questions or requests for bonus videos for Ahsoka, just leave them in the comments below. Everyone click here for my Mandalorian Season 4 teaser video and all my Mandalorian episodes, and click here for my Ahsoka trailer and Easter eggs. Thank you so much for watching, everyone stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.